Hello everyone! Today we'll have a new lesson about flowchart, uses, symbols, and types. What is a flowchart? A flowchart is a picture of the separate steps of a process in sequential order. It is a generic tool that can be adapted for a wide variety of purposes and can be used to describe various processes such as a manufacturing process, an administrative or service process, or a project plan. It's a common process analysis tool and one of the 7 basic quality tools. A flowchart is a type of diagram that represents a workflow or process. A flowchart can also be defined as a diagrammatic representation of an algorithm, a step-by-step approach to solving a task. Another definition of flowchart is that the flowchart shows the steps as boxes of various kinds and their order by connecting the boxes with arrows. This diagrammatic representation illustrates a solution model to a given problem. Flowcharts are used in analyzing, designing, documenting, or managing a process or program in various fields. Elements that may be included in a flowchart are a sequence of actions, materials, or services entering or leaving the process, such as inputs and outputs, decisions that must be made, people who became involved, time involved, and at each step or process measurements. A flowchart also is simply a graphical representation of steps. It shows steps in sequential order and is widely used in presenting the flow of algorithms, workflow, or processes. Typically, a flowchart shows the steps as boxes of various kinds and their order by connecting them with arrows. A flowchart is a graphical representation of steps. It was originated from computer science as a tool for representing algorithms and programming logic, but had extended to use in all other kinds of processes. Nowadays, flowcharts play an extremely important role in displaying information and assisting reasoning. They help us visualize complex processes or make explicit the structure of problems and tasks. A flowchart can also be used to define a process or project to be implemented. When to use a flowchart? Using a flowchart has a variety of benefits. It helps to clarify complex processes. It identifies steps that do not add value to the internal or external customer, including delays, needless storage and transportation, unnecessary work duplication, and added expense breakdowns in communication. It helps team members gain a shared understanding of the process and use this knowledge to collect data, identify problems, focus discussions, and identify resources. It serves as a basis for designing new processes. Additional is to develop understanding of how a process is done, to study a process for improvement, to communicate to others how a process is done, when better communication is needed between people involved with the same process, to document a process when planning a project. Now, let's talk about some flowchart considerations. First, don't worry about drawing the flowchart the right way. Ultimately, the right way is the way that helps those involved understand the process. Identify and involve in the flowcharting process all key people involved with the process. This includes suppliers, so customers, and supervisors. Involve them in the actual flowcharting session by interviewing them before the sessions and or by showing them the developing flowchart between work sessions and obtaining their feedback. Another consideration is do not assign a technical expert to draw the flowchart. People who actually perform the process should do it. Here are common flowchart symbols. These flowchart shapes and symbols are some of the most common types you will find in most flowchart diagrams. Different flowchart shapes have different conventional meanings. The meanings of some of the more common shapes are as follows. Terminator. The terminator symbol represents the starting or ending point of the system, also known as the start or end symbol. This symbol represents the start points, end points, and potential outcomes of a path, often contains start or end within the shape. Next is the process. A box indicates some particular operation, also known as an action symbol. This shape represents a process, action, or function. It's the most widely used symbol in flowcharting. Document. This represents a printout such as a document or a report. Represents the input or output of a document specifically. Examples of input are receiving a report, email, or order. Examples of an output using a document symbol include generating a presentation, memo, or letter. Another is decision. A diamond represents a decision or branching point. Lines coming out from the diamond indicates different possible situations, leading to different sub-processes. Indicates a question to be answered, usually yes or no, or true or false. The flowchart path may then split off into different branches depending on the answer or consequences thereafter. Another common flowchart symbol is data. It represents information entering or leaving the system. An input might be an order from a customer. Output can be a product to be delivered. Also referred to as the input-output. This shape represents data that is available for input or output as well as representing resources used or generated. While the paper tape symbol also represents input or output, it is outdated and no longer in common use for flowchart diagramming. On-page reference. This symbol would contain a letter inside. It indicates that the flow continues on a matching symbol containing the same letters somewhere else on the same page. Usually used within more complex charts, the symbol connects separate elements across one page. Off-page reference. This symbol would contain a letter inside. It indicates that the flow continues on a matching symbol containing the same letter somewhere else on a different page. Frequently used within complex charts, this symbol connects separate elements across multiple pages with the page number usually placed on or within the shape for easy reference. Delay or bottleneck. Identifies a delay or bottleneck. Represents a segment of a delay in a process. It can be helpful to indicate the exact length of delay within the shape. Flow. Lines represent the flow of the sequence and direction of a process. Comment or note symbol. Placed along with context, this symbol adds needed explanation or comments within the specified range. It may be connected by a dashed line to the relevant section of the flowchart as well. Next, let's talk about what are additional flowchart symbols. Many of these additional flowchart symbols are best utilized when mapping out a process flow diagram for apps, user flow, data processing, and so on. Database symbol represents data housed on a storage service that will likely allow for searching and filtering by users. Paper tape symbol. An outdated symbol rarely ever used in modern practices or process flows. But this shape could be used if you're mapping out processes or input methods on much older computers and CNC machines. Summing junction symbol sums the input of several converging paths. Predefined process symbol. indicates a complicated process or operation that is well known or defined elsewhere. Internal storage symbol. Commonly used to map out software design, this shape indicates data that is stored within internal memory. Manual input symbol. Represents the manual input of data into a field or step in a process, usually through a keyboard or device. Example scenario includes the step in a login process where a user is prompted to enter data manually. Manual operation symbol indicates a step that must be done manually, not automatically. Merge symbol combines multiple paths to become one. Multiple document symbol represents multiple documents or reports. Preparation symbol differentiates between steps that prepare for work and steps that actually do work. It helps introduce the setup to another step within the same process. Stored data symbol, also known as data storage symbol. This shape represents where data gets stored within a process. Or symbol. Just as described, this shape indicates that the process flow continues two paths or more. Display symbol. This shape is useful to indicate where information will get displayed within a process flow. Hard disk symbol indicates where data is stored within a hard drive, also known as direct access storage. Now let us proceed to the flowcharts for computer programming or algorithms. As a visual representation of data flow, flowcharts are useful in writing a program or algorithm and explaining it to others or collaborating with them on it. You can use a flowchart to spell out the logic behind a program before ever starting to code the automated process. It can help to organize big picture thinking and provide a guide when it comes time to code. More specifically, flowcharts can demonstrate the way code is organized, visualize the execution of code within a program, show the structure of a website or application, understand how users navigate a website or program. Often, programmers may write pseudocode, a combination of natural language and computer language able to be read by people. This may allow greater detail than the flowchart and serve either as a replacement for the flowchart as our next step to actual code. Related diagrams used in computer software include Unified Modeling Language or UML. This is a general-purpose language used in software engineering for modeling. Nazi-Snyderman diagrams used for structured computer programming named after Isaac Nazi and Ben Snyderman, who developed it in 1972 at SUNY Stony Brook, also called structograms. And Dracon charts. Dracon is an algorithmic visual programming language used to produce flowcharts. But how flowcharts are used in numerous other fields? For example, in any field, document and analyze a process, standardize a process for efficiency and equality, communicate a process for training or understanding by other parts of the organization, identify bottlenecks, redundancies, and unnecessary steps in a process and improve it. For the education, plan coursework and academic requirements, create a lesson plan or oral presentation, organize a group or individual project, show a legal or civil process like voter registration, plan and structure creative writing like lyrics or poetry. Demonstrate character development for literature and film, represent the flow of algorithms or logic puzzles, understand a scientific process like the Krebs cycle, chart an anatomical process such as digestion, map out symptoms and treatment for diseases or disorders, and communicate hypotheses and theories like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. For sales and marketing, plot out the flow of a survey, chart a sales process, plan research strategies, show registration flows, disseminate communication policies like an emergency PR plan. For the business, understand order and procurement processes, represent an employee's task or daily routine, understand the paths that users take on a website or in a store, develop a business plan or product realization plan. Document a process in preparation for an audit, including for regulatory compliance, such as under the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, and document the process in preparation for a sale or consolidation. In terms of manufacturing, flowcharts denote the physical or chemical makeup of a product, illustrate the manufacturing process from beginning to end, discover and solve inefficiencies in a manufacturing or procurement process. For the engineering side, represent process flows or system flows, design and update chemical and plant processes, assess the life cycle of a structure, chart a reverse engineering flow, demonstrate the design and prototype phase of a new structure project. Now let's talk about types of flowcharts. Different authors describe various types of flowcharts in different terms. These people include published experts such as Alan B. Sterneckert, Andrew Veronis, Marilyn Bow, and Mark A. Pryman. Sterneckert, in his 2003 book of Critical Incident Management, listed four popular flowchart types, framed around the concept of flow controls rather than the flow itself. First, document flowcharts. These have the purpose of showing existing controls over document flow through the components of a system. The chart is read from left to right and documents the flow of documents through the various business units. Next type is the data flowcharts. These show the controls governing data flows in a system. Data flowcharts are used primarily to show the channels that data is transmitted through the system rather than how controls flow. Another type is system flowcharts. These show the flow of data to and through the major components of a system such as data entry, programs, storage media, processors, and communication networks. And another is the program flowcharts that show the controls placed internally to a program within a system. For Veronis, in his 1978 book Microprocessors, Design and Applications, outlined three flowchart types based on scope and level of detail, such as system flowchart, identifies the devices to be used, general flowchart, which is the overview, and detailed flowchart, increased detail. While Boll, in her 1978 book A Guide for Programmers, listed only two, the system flowchart and the program flowchart. While Fryman, in his 2001 book Quality and Process Improvement, differentiated the types in multiple ways from more of a business perspective than a computer perspective, such as decision flowchart, logic flowchart, system flowchart, product flowchart, process flowchart. Additional flowchart types defined by others include swim lane diagram, aka swim lane flowchart, which is to delineate who does what in cross-team processes. Another is workflow flowchart, to document workflows often involving tasks, documents, and information offices. Event-driven process chain or EPC flowchart, to document or plan a business process. A specification and description language or SDL flowchart, to brainstorm computer algorithms using three basic components, the system definition, block, and process. These related diagrams are also sometimes thought of as a types of flowcharts, such as Data flow diagram or DFD to map out the flow of information for any system or process. Process flow diagram or PFD, aka process flow chart, which is to illustrate the relationships between major components at an industrial plant. And the business process model and notation or BPMN 2.0 to model the steps of a planned business process. But how to plan and draw a basic flowchart? First, define your purpose and scope. What do you hope to accomplish? Are you studying the right things with appropriate start and end points to accomplish that purpose? Be detailed enough in your research but simple enough in your charting to communicate with your intended audience. Next, identify the task in chronological order. This might involve talking to participants, observing a process, and/or reviewing any existing documentation. You might write out the steps in note form or begin a rough chart. Organize them by type and corresponding shape, such as process, decision, data, inputs, or outputs. Next is draw your chart, either sketching by hand or using a program such as Lucidchart, and confirm your flowchart, walking through the steps with people who participate in the process. Observe the process to make sure you haven't missed anything important to your purpose. Here are some of the images regarding the flowchart examples. High-level flowchart for an order filling process. Detailed flowchart of filling an order. Medical service. Simple algorithms like find the sum of 529 and 256. Calculate profit and loss. Customer purchase order. So that's all the example for the flowchart. And that's all the learnings regarding the flowcharts of its uses, types, functions, and examples. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.